Okay, this is the Thursday, June 7th, 2018 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I'm calling it to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Intner, lead us.
Please join me in the pledge.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Jacobson.
Present.
Commissioner Intner.
Here.
Chair Firestone.
Here.
Vice Chair Murphy.
Yes.
Absent this evening are Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Taylor, and Commissioner Comerford. Easy for me to say.
Okay, public comments? Anyone? Packed room. Okay. I don't think we have a presentation either, do we?
We do not have a presentation
Okay,
this
great.
evening.
We have, so we'll go to item number 5, the Police Department report. We've got Sergeant Siri. Thanks for coming.
Sure, nice to be here. The only things that we've really been seeing in the parks are a little bit of graffiti that we're still investigating. Some of it has been gang graffiti. We thought we had pretty much everybody locked up. It turns out we don't. So we think it's the next generation coming up, so we're trying to identify those people. The other issue we're having is the transients drinking, causing a disturbance, getting loud, using foul language. And we're trying to increase patrols on that and try and get that more under control. But that's an ongoing issue. So it's hard to catch them drinking when they see us coming from a long distance away. So, but other than that, that's pretty much all we have. So, yeah.
I just wanted to mention, I know is some of this activity more in Libby Park, would you say, or because
Drinking?
Yeah.
Libby Park, they like to hang out there at the gazebo, but it's also occurring behind the arcade in that park area back there.
Behind the Chevron.
Right, yeah, that whole area. But
We
we get the most calls behind Libby or in Libby and then behind the arcade.
But those two those two situations have been going on
Forever.
ever, pretty much. Those seem to be the two spots, right? Not so much at the lower tennis courts?
No, haven't.
Remember, there used to be in the creek
Yeah,
bed there. They
sometime
used to
in
hang out
between.
in the...
Yeah,
the
haven't really
creek.
noticed a problem down there, but
Okay.
maybe because the citizens don't see them down there. I don't know, but yeah, we're not frequenting them down there. So.
Could you talk a little bit more about the gang graffiti and?
Okay, so we've had that I know of, we had 3 incidents, and I'm not 100% sure on the locations. I think it was the bathrooms at the skate park, bathrooms maybe behind the arcade. Those were the 3 incidents, and it looked like young juvenile stuff. So it looked like younger person, maybe a family member or friends or associates of the older gang members. So we're trying to reach out and trying to identify those kids. It's somewhat difficult when you first try and identify. You know, we don't have a huge problem like they do in LA or even Oxnard where they hang out, they hang in a specific geographic area and all that. So trying to identify the younger up-and-comers is more challenging, but we're taking steps to do that. We were doing a park sweep last night, closing the bathrooms up, and saw another incident of the gang graffiti, and it's the local crew here. It's not out of towners, and they're just writing their name up there. So with pen, not very big, just small.
Could it be copycat type stuff, or is this a definite connection to the older gang members?
I don't think it's copycat stuff, but you never know unless you're there and witness it or have cameras or whatever.
Right.
And as far as they're identifying with that older gang. So as far as being with older gang members, that's just an assumption to carry on the gang. So, but again, it's relatively minor, but we do want to keep on top of it before it gets big.
Yeah. Has there been other gang activity?
Haven't seen any, haven't heard any.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anything else?
No, that's
Any
it.
questions from commissioners? No? Okay, thanks for coming.
Sure.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
All right, Public Works Report, number 6. Mr. Green.
Yeah, no Mr. Grant tonight, and nothing to report.
Okay, great. Item 7, approval of minutes from the May 3rd, 2018 meeting. Folks had a chance to go over those. Okay. Anyone want to make a motion to approve them?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the Thursday, May 3rd, 2018 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting.
Thanks. Give a second.
A second.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Motion passes.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, great. We're go right into discussion items. So the first item, 8A, joint meeting with the city council, which is scheduled for the end of August. So,
Yeah, we thought it might be a good time to work those out, because in this meeting, if we get the agenda items, we work on, when I say we, I mean Allison, we work on the we work on the PowerPoint presentation, then we can bring it back in July to review it. And as it says on the it's not till the end of August.
Right.
So we'll even have
August.
the August meeting if we want to bring it there and fine tune it even more. So
Yeah. Awesome.
just to get started on that process.
So this is the same type of meeting that we had a few months ago, basically the same, just to kind of.
A year ago.
We did it in.
Didn't we
what,
do it
Well,
October?
sorry,
Just
you
a
were
few months
right.
ago.
It wasn't a year ago. It's supposed to be every August, but we had to bump it
Yeah.
to October.
I think it was October. We
Was
did
it
it.
was it that long ago
Yeah,
that we
Yeah.
did the video
think it
presentation
was,
to the?
Uh-huh.
it was a while ago.
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. Time flies.
And we want to have it in August? Just
Well,
because we're keeping
it
on
is-
schedule?
Yeah, it's normally scheduled for August. It went to October because I don't remember the conflicts.
Yeah,
But
I
there were
had
some.
a conflict.
Yeah.
We also have Councilmember Blatz here, so we might have some input on what the council would like to see or discuss at that time.
So Allison actually printed up the agenda from October. We'll say October, since I don't know if it was
Our last meeting.
the last meeting. Thank you.
So that's just the slide of the discussion items.
So that's all we have, is just the one slide of the discussion items. I brought the full, I just have one copy of the full slide or PowerPoint presentation. It was mostly giving updates on park programming, mostly. So, it's this is an opportunity to say, hey, these are we like some of these items that we talked about before, we'd like to discuss them again, or these are other we want to
Yeah.
add these topics.
I would think, just based on where we are in the setup, that the sport courts would be at the head of that list, just because of the time frame and.
Well, so CIP would stay,
Mm-hmm.
and then projects, and that would be sports courts, which hits on both the CIPs, but if it's a specific project we're undertaking.
No, I think they're
They're
separate.
separate.
Oh, separate, okay.
Yeah.
Because one's a discussion of our future plan, or, where we'd like to have capital improvements, and the other is, here's a capital improvement we're doing,
Right.
Okay.
or we're hoping to move forward with. I don't think we need partnership with OUSD.
Okay.
Which also ties into Chaparral, does it not?
Different, but
Different, but
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
we
that
need
we
it.
need that
Or
either.
we're not pursuing that, that was.
We don't
kinda
need
my-
either, yeah. I
Right,
don't think
okay.
so.
Okay, we can remove that.
CPA first aid doesn't need to be on there.
No,
Right.
No.
agreed.
We covered that.
Done.
Valley-wide Parks District, will we want to revisit that?
You know, it's not bad to keep it on there, to keep it on everybody's radar for when it really gets going, but
I think the thinner the list, the better, because I've been to one meeting so far, and it got hijacked, kind of.
Yeah.
No disrespect intended, but
No, no.
we offshooted off on, and jibber jabbered the entire meeting about little minute things where our bullet points really just barely touched.
I'm shocked personally.
Are those batteries charged?
The batteries, the fire extinguishers have been recharged, and the battery now just stays in the defibrillator. We never remove those
so
batteries.
you should put that on
So
there. I don't think we
ever.
need to discuss it, but we
This
could put
this
it on
meeting's
there.
gonna go a lot quicker.
Just for the record.
One thing that might be good to discuss, I think, given the work that Maya and Allison has done, is the youth.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It's not exactly a committee, but
Teen.
like teen activities.
the teen programming
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, I think to discuss like what we have done and kind of what we see going forward, because we're gonna have a new youth commissioner to introduce. That might be nice too.
depending on
Has
where we,
that person been chosen?
No.
I think they're just getting ready to put the ad
Just
out.
putting the apps out now?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Depending on where we are with the naming. I mean, that
think
goes on our
that's a-
list of things that
Mhm.
we've worked on, however that
Yeah.
fits in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we'll want to report back at that meeting, I think, because they've been looking for feedback on the Libby Bowl lawn. By then, we should definitely have that feedback, I would think, if not sooner.
Yeah, they're really wanting to
They want the
move
feedback.
that along. and I
What they're
know we
looking for is
wanna
a
do-
recommendation from here, so we just
Right.
need to get moving on deciding how we're gonna do that. So, but that should be on the list.
Mhm.
The master plan, not with any grand discussion, but just have it in the packet again so that everyone is familiar with it and have it, are still thinking about it.
Okay, and I'll just let you know, we are, not for the cost, that I think I told you it was gonna cost us in the neighborhood of $7,500 to
Mhm.
redo that master plan without the 35,000 square foot facility. But we are going to redo it.
We'll have an
But
updated plan.
We'll have an updated plan.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Great.
And so that'll be in there.
We will have an updated plan. That keeps the Boyd Center where it
Right.
is, in the parking lot, the parking lot out front of the Boyd Center where it is, but adjusted.
Adjusted
And
so that
that's gonna
fits.
cost how much?
I can give you the cost, it's 1,500.
Oh, okay, that's where I missed the 7,500 part. That's
That
That was
was
the
the
first-
original,
We went with the
I'm not as
original
reading, I'm
consultant and
sorry.
had them do the work.
perfect.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the joint meeting?
Well, I think we just then have to flesh out our CIP at another meeting.
Right, so.
Yeah, but that would be it.
Anything else we want to add to this list, and then we can kind of dive a little deeper, if we want.
Oh, I don't know. Never mind. I was thinking about the bathrooms at Libby, but they're neither here nor there. They're-
Yeah, we don't have much of an update, really, on that.
Yeah, if there was something, we should include it, but
Right.
And do you
So
think,
we just have a
Allison,
placeholder for
Sorry.
anything else?
do you think we'll put some programming on there to, like, try to do like a draft?
Yeah, I can have a draft for the next meeting. I don't know if you guys have any feedback, if you want to do a similar format as far as the PowerPoint presentation as last year. I could do a similar format and update information and photos and
You
topics.
should be able to add in a kind of a wrap-up of your summer program by then, right? Does that end in by then?
It'll be, yeah,
Yeah,
Close,
I
yeah.
can draft it and then put in like numbers
Right.
at the
Yeah.
very end.
Right,
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be good.
absolutely.
I think that would be a good thing for them
Yeah.
to know.
it ends on the 17th, 18th,
Somewhere in there.
somewhere in
So we'd
there.
just be plugging in numbers at
Yeah.
that point.
Absolutely.
And I would definitely, like last year, like to help with the content and the formatting and wording and stuff. So I'd say like for coming up with the rough draft, don't worry so much about
Okay.
specific wording or layout. Like we can work on that stuff together, but just kind of getting all that stuff
I can get
into
some
a
rough stuff
file
in there and send it to you.
is, yeah.
that makes sense.
So should we go through each of these items at least roughly, so Allison has a sense of what to put in.
Materials we're looking forward to, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we talking?
So we have this list. I'll just read the list again of things we'd like to include in the joint meeting, and then Allison's going to start drafting a presentation. So CIP, sports courts, Valleywide Parks District, teen programming, naming policy, Libby Bowl lawn, master plan, and just a placeholder for any progress reports we have on stuff going on. Okay, so CIP. We have our CIP. You have that
The
document.
5-year,
Right.
uh-huh.
So I think that's
I can
it,
do
just kind of
we-
presenting what's on there.
And let's look at that again next month, because even when we looked at it last time, I think we'd asked for adjustments.
Yeah.
Last time Greg was here.
Moving some numbers around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the things were,
Yeah, agree.
Okay.
I have some notes, but I don't.
I'll put that, we'll bring this up later, but for future meeting stuff, CIP fine tuning. Is that right? Okay. Anything else on CIP? I think that's it. Anything else we wanted? Okay, I'm sure that'll lead to discussion, but
Yeah.
we don't need to
Well,
put,
and, I mean, CIP will be finished projects that we've done this last year, right? Which a lot of them are gonna be smaller projects, but that'll be on there, as well as the future items.
right, so
Okay.
what we've, does that
What
sound
we
good?
finished
Yeah, that
and
makes
what we plan
sense.
to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Sports courts. So we are going to have a bigger discussion about the sports courts later today. That's item 8C.
See?
So we might want to hold off and just kind of see where that discussion goes
That makes sense.
before we do 2 minutes. Valleywide Parks District.
Not allowed to report, but before then I can work on it.
Okay. We could also kind of have it towards the back of the presentation, as just
Yeah.
like we did last time, where we had kind of smaller items at the back that we didn't spend
That
much
makes
time on.
sense.
So, and if you don't mind me suggesting, Commissioner Entner, I was, we finally painted over the graffiti on the tennis courts, and I got that paint because they're resurfacing and repainting their courts at the Pleasant Valley Conejo
Mhm.
district. So maybe reaching out to that park district to meet with someone there to
Well, and I mean,
talk about
a
how
lot
it
of
all
it is there,
functions and-
yeah, and there are different formats, and there's legally different ways to set it up, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of different models, and, yeah,
So that maybe
Yep.
point of contact out
Okay.
there, they might be willing to meet with you and
yeah,
get some information from them.
that'd be great.
It was, they got some nice facilities out there, went into their indoor aquatics facility. And they're converting 2 of their courts to pickleball courts. They're 2 of their tennis
Nice.
courts to
Okay.
pickleball courts.
And if memory serves me, that's one of the categories where the last meeting went off the rails a little bit. That and the noise at Libby Park, because there was a lot of conversation about costs and whether people outside the Ojai should
Oh,
pay
right.
more or less, or that's where it went a little
Yeah.
bit
There's a lot of feedback.
askew
Yeah.
from the basic thing. And so,
Yeah, that one can get tricky.
yeah,
Uh,
just have to kind of stay on top of that.
Okay. Teen programming. So I think it'd be good to go over kind of what we accomplished with Maya here, as far as kind of identifying what stuff would be good for teens. And then you put together at least one. You put the ping pong event together, which what was there other stuff? Did you end up doing any of the workshops?
We did not, no, we haven't,
Okay.
we didn't end
Maybe
up,
we can talk about those ideas, because
Yeah.
it sounds like those would be great.
yeah,
I think also just pointing out in the master plan that we have kind of an older kids play area,
Teen
a teen
play.
play area. So that's something we've heard too, that bigger kids want something physical to play on. So we can talk about that. Anything else on teen programming?
Don't we have something scheduled for July or not?
we do not.
We don't.
We
Oh,
were planning to,
oh,
but we do not
okay.
currently have anything planned.
And then, Maya did that survey, so maybe what we can pull from there
Yeah,
the ideas direct from the kids.
yeah. I think that's that's a really good starting point for our next commissioner and
Yeah.
next school year. So it'd be nice to,
And the summer is the perfect time to pull together maybe a plan to work with the school on, how to grab
Yeah.
the kids
yeah.
before the school year starts.
Okay, so then naming, again, we have a discussion item 8D, which is to go over this document from last time that we didn't go over. So I think we can hold off until we have a discussion about that. The Libby Bowl lawn, we're also going to talk about the feedback, so probably we don't need to do that now. And then the master plan, I think it's pretty straightforward. We'd show the master plan and
The updated master plan.
updated master plan, yeah. Okay, so anything else on the joint meeting? I think that covers the agenda. Allison, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, you and I can go back and forth on it.
Sounds good.
Meeting.
Great. And if anyone does think of anything, feel free to email Allison or me. And if you want to be involved in putting the presentation together too, let us know. Okay. Good. 8B, ad hoc committee preparation. So we've got our committees, the Libby Lawn seating plan. So we've got Commissioners Murphy and Jacobson. We also have from Allison a lot of feedback from the survey that she put out. Wanna-
Do you want me to go over that real fast?
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys have, it was just a really short 3-question survey, which I think helped us. We got more responses than expected. We had 211 responses. So you guys can see the feedback. Do you attend Libby Bowl events? If so, what has your experience been? So we had just over 90% say that yes, they attend events. Again, we left it pretty vague, and they left it pretty vague intentionally. How important is it for you to see the stage from
Can
the
we back
lawn
up for a
area?
second?
I'm sorry, yeah.
So when it said, what's your experience been, how were they
So-
supposed to answer that?
Yeah, so I was gonna get to
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
written, yeah,
Okay.
no, you're good. I was gonna go through the questions really fast. So how important is it for you to see the stage from the lawn area? The average was about 7, so 10 being the highest importance and 1 being the lowest. Average was just over 7. And then should the city prioritize raising the elevation of the lawn? 53% said yes, almost 47% said no. And then each one of those questions did have a comment section. So we got a lot of feedback, actually. I was surprised with how many people actually wrote in verbal responses. And I did not read through all of them, but I skimmed a lot of them. And it's really obviously conflicted feedback. You can tell by the last question that there's people definitely on both sides. So Ryan suggested that I can email this out for those of you that want to skim through those written responses. I think it kind of gives you a good framework of both sides of the equation. And I'll leave that up to you guys.
Can you summarize the two sides, or is it too complicated? Or?
There's a lot of different elements to the feedback. The main one that I was reading through was the third question: should the city prioritize? And most people said, it really depends on what, most people said I need more information about what it would be prioritized over. But there was quite a few people that said that they didn't think it should be prioritized, but if you want to get monies from, get donations, things like that, quite a few people said that. A lot of people said that, it supports arts in the valley and that it should be a priority because of that. So yeah, it was a very mixed bag of every angle of it you could think of was kind of expressed here. So do with that what you will.
Great. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Of course.
Looking forward to reading into that. Any questions on that or comments?
I will take this and share this with the Libby Bowl Committee,
Okay.
because the information on here is good, just about the
Perfect.
number of people who say, yes, I've attended an event out of the 200 is
Yeah,
a lot.
I think, again, with kind of a non-random survey, I think it's helpful to understand who's taking the survey, and it's
Right.
mostly people who attend events,
Right.
which is great.
Most
Yeah.
people who haven't been to a concert are not gonna care less and not
Right.
gonna take a survey.
They have no reference point on this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
discussion, yeah. And
Has there been any idea on what the percentage of people to capacity of the bowl is for the events that we have down there? The concerts? Do they sell out? Are they 50% full?
it
Are
varies
they-
greatly,
I mean, on
depending on,
average.
depending on the show. I don't have
Yeah.
an average. I can
Okay.
tell you that, like, this next weekend, is it the 15th, 16th? They have 2 days of shows that sold out in 5 minutes.
Is that the blues?
No, that's
the-
Vampire Weekend.
Oh, I thought it was a music festival.
Oh.
No, they
that's the
just,
one.
they just,
Okay.
they just added it for the 15th and the 16th last minute, and that particular show sold out in 5 minutes. So and then the other shows, but but that'll lead into I'll talk about that in a minute, or if you want me to talk about it now.
Let's see. What else do we have on the lawn specifically? Anything else from Commissioners Jacobson, Murphy?
No, this survey has done more work than I think both of us combined.
I hope did you capture emails on people who participated in the survey?
It does not, no.
That's too bad, because even when I was doing them at the event, whenever we do this kind of stuff, if we can capture their information, because if we're going to have workshops where we invite people who are interested in the topic, it's very helpful to already have a list of people who have
We-
already shown their interest.
Yeah, we figured we would do a mass email for those workshops anyway.
I
so it
just think that
captures
it's
the
amazing
people.
how specific, emails to certain people will bring them out. So in the future, if we can, and they're willing.
Yeah, we could add a question and they would, and
I
have
think
them
it's-
provide
I think
it.
part of the survey too, it's not even a question, you can just, you can tell them whether you want to collect, to ask that or not.
Right.
Yeah, so we could add, a question to collect
Would you like
those.
to
Yeah.
include your email? Okay, well, this sounds great.
Yep.
Sounds like we're gonna learn a lot by reading through this. I'd encourage everyone to read through it, and hopefully that'll help us kind of inform what we want to cover in a workshop.
And you're going to email us okay, great, thank you.
Awesome.
Cool,
Valleywide Parks District,
nothing.
okay. Soul Park,
Nothing.
okay.
Can I just throw something out there? I did have lunch out there today at lovely Soul Park, because I spend every day at Sarasota. And there's one section, so when you first come into the park, there's that big open space. So I was just curious as to how big that open space is, and if you could have a nice soccer field on there. So the length is over 100 yards.
You walked it off?
Yeah, I walked it. I
Nice.
stepped it off. So yeah, the length of it's more than a football field long. So a soccer field, I think Nordhoff plays on their football field,
Mhm.
right?
Are you
So
talking right
it's not
next to
going to
the
be a
baseball?
perfect. Just beyond the baseball field. So as you drive in, there's the baseball field on your left, and now new horseshoe pits off to the right. They built a bunch of really nice horseshoe pits there, and then the first big the parking lot you come to, there's a big parking lot, and that right next adjacent to it is a big open space. So it's 100 yards long, easily 45 yards wide, and a football field is 50. When I say football, I don't mean soccer, I mean American football. 45 football fields, 50
yards
yards wide. This was there's one tree. If that one tree was gone, it'd be at least 50 yards wide, if not more. But it's at least comfortably 45 yards wide with no trees. So be a great
Well, and
soccer field.
And even off to the left by the baseball field, you could, if you weren't playing baseball, couldn't you fit another, is it not big enough for a field there?
Where's that?
It's not long enough? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
In the baseball outfield,
Oh.
I was wondering how, because it's a pretty large space, but I don't know. Because you wouldn't, a lot of times you're not playing baseball when you're playing soccer season-wise, so.
She was wondering if a soccer field would fit in the baseball field outfield, but I don't think
Oh.
it's big
I don't know.
enough.
I'm not sure. I didn't step that off, but possibly. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but and I did notice that no gopher holes, no divots. I mean, it was actually really well kept.
Relative to around here. Because the
The
ultimate frisbee
schools-
players have played on that exact area where you're talking about before.
Oh,
on their own.
out at
They've
Seoul?
had- Yeah,
Oh.
not on a regular basis, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well, they need lights too, so,
during the day, yes.
yeah. Anyway,
And your thoughts on?
my thoughts are, well, gosh, if we didn't get to use the whole thing, we're not gonna take the whole thing over, but will you let us use the ball field? Will you let us use that as a soccer field? Because I could see us putting a couple, like a lot of recreation facilities do. They just have a couple of locked goals out there with wheels. Unlock them, wheel the goals out, and off you go, right? I mean, and they didn't mind us lining the field, but just using pieces of it.
As a
Or the
potential
dog
discussion
park,
as part of this,
Because,
yeah.
we've recently had an influx of unleashed dogs using Sarasota Park as the default dog park. So it made me think of their dog. It's a really nice dog park
It is a nice
that
dog
they
park.
have there. But again, if they would be willing to potentially waive the fees, or what's an annual pass cost, and
$60. I have
is
one.
it?
We have one for each one of our cars.
Oh, an annual
$60.
Oh, $60. Well, there you go. Can we get a discount or something? I don't know. Just maybe not take over the whole thing, but can we use pieces of it
Mhm.
as a possibility?
So as that committee meets, are you participating?
I'm not, I haven't, because I don't think the committee's
No.
met, but
I should ask, do you want to? It sounds
I'd
like.
be willing to, reaching out to whoever the Seoul Park, or whoever the
Yeah, the county.
county connection is for
Yeah,
Seoul
they're
Park.
not very communicative.
Yeah, so, but
My
I'd be willing to
concern
sit
with
in
that
on
still
that.
is availability of kids to get there.
Yeah.
It has to be by car.
Well,
Sure, and if
Pretty
they would,
much.
right, and if they would waive the parking fee,
Right.
or just, yeah, if they'd waive the parking fee, then great. I think
Oh.
we'd get a lot more interest.
A lot of I would say majority of people do drive to the park for practices and such
And
anyway.
To Sarasota?
Mm-hmm.
well, and that's like AYSO. I've driven all the way to Sunset School to get practice space for soccer.
Mhm.
Most people are driving all over.
Yeah.
I'm
they keep
sure,
it-
I'm sure Councilmember Souza would prefer biking there.
Yeah.
But it is a little
Yeah.
tricky. They did widen that bridge, though. It's a little safer
But-
than it
but
used
so-
to be.
So these are ideas
out
for
there.
the committee for discussion. Okay,
Yes,
and I think
yeah.
that's great.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on Seoul Park? OUSD partnerships, I don't have anything.
Nope.
No. Okay. Sorry, as we go through these, I'm going kind of quickly, but if anyone else has any questions or comments, speak up.
Naming committee's coming up.
Yeah, here we go. You guys ready for this? So naming committee, we do have that as item 8D,
Yeah, do you wanna
a
wait
little
on that?
further down,
Okay.
so let's just wait. Youth committee, Commissioner Gilbert's not here. Anyone have anything they want to talk about?
I do not have any updates.
Well, we have it on the staff reports about the youth commissioner vacancy, so it's not really a youth committee, but we are. I'll touch on that if you don't mind me just saying that we're gonna start advertising for the next youth commissioner. I don't know if Maya is gonna be with us all the way through August, or I don't think we ever
Right.
finalized that, but I know we're working on a proclamation for her,
Okay,
for her service to the commission. So
great. It sounded like she's at least in town through the summer, so hopefully she'll be here
Yeah.
at least next month, maybe August. It seems like over the summer might be a good time for the committee to maybe come up with a game plan for the school year, given how hard it was to actually get events to happen.
Yes.
I think we also
The-
need another commissioner.
Yeah, the committee is essentially me and Maya
Right.
at this point, and she will be leaving, so if another commissioner wants to come on board, or obviously that new youth commissioner will be involved, but there are no other youth that have stayed involved in that.
But we have
commission.
lots to work on. We've
Yeah.
generated a lot of information and ideas, and I mean,
There's a lot of potential there.
even fleshed
um,
out some
it's just been- yeah,
specifics, yeah.
It's difficult because I'm busy, so it's difficult for me to push that along. So if I had other people helping share that workload.
Well, and this comes back to too, like where we're trying to focus to bring things in, and I think teens, for a while, we were focusing on seniors. for a couple of years there, and we really have there are more offerings for seniors than there were before, so maybe as a commission, we decide that's something we really want to work on, which is teen programming.
Yeah, I agree. I think also we had some concrete ideas that came out of the work that you guys did.
Yeah.
That,
Those workshops were really nice,
yeah,
marquee workshops, but they just didn't materialize.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
were good ideas.
There's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of
And-
groundwork already laid for it.
exactly. Recognizing that, we've got kind of a head start. if
There's
you
just
think about
some
it now
logistical
for the
things
next
that need
school
to,
year.
happen.
Well, and that's a matter of prioritization and staffing, because what you're saying is you don't have time. So then if we talk about that in the future and we come up with what we want, then it's a matter of figuring out if we can find staff time to
Right.
to take it the next step forward. I think all the work is there. It is a matter of staffing time now to,
Well, yeah, and it
kinda
seemed
launch
like
it.
with the workshops, like it was like you needed people to give the workshops, you needed a space to do it, and you needed a time, and lining all those things up.
Yeah.
seemed
And we were
really
trying to do some of,
challenging.
we were trying to do some of them at
Participants.
Nordoff, which is, I think that was the first thing that kind of threw us off course, that kind of made it so, just because, doing things at Sarasota is easy. But just that extra element, I think was the first thing that kind of,
and again,
Took us off
things,
track a little
and
bit.
things have changed there too. So I think the partnership is strengthening and there's
yeah,
more working
absolutely. And it's not that
together.
it's not an option, it's just that
Right.
it was more logistical.
Yeah.
I think we've got the pieces. It's just, I
Absolutely.
think it's a great idea to
Yeah.
put on the summer agenda and see.
And I do have another part-time staff that's interested in helping with those things, so I can pull her in to try and work towards some of those things for the fall.
Great. I'd be happy to, step in at least temporarily.
Okay.
Maybe one of the new commissioners would like to kind of going forward, but if it's
That's a
just
good idea.
thinking about stuff over the summer, I could help
Okay.
with that.
Great.
Anything else on that? Okay. 8C, public feedback on Libby Bowl lawn, which we just talked about. And then Sarzati Park, so we've got the Libby Bowl lawn and Sarzati Park multi-sports courts, both of which we want public feedback on. So the Libby Bowl lawn, like Allison said, we had that survey, so we got that, and I think we need to look through that to figure out what a workshop should look like, if we want to have a workshop, or if we have enough information to give a recommendation to the city.
I still like a workshop, but, because I think it's nice to show people visually who are not gonna
Yeah,
get it without some, something to show them. But whether it's a sit-down talk or whether it's an open workshop where people can come in throughout the day and give their feedback that way, I could go either way.
okay. So it sounds like probably for our July meeting, be good, because then we would have a chance to go through that feedback, and then we can talk about what a workshop would look like. Is that,
As long as we think we can get a date so that we have it done before August.
to have the workshop before
Mhm.
August? Uh-huh.
So I maybe tonight we decide whether we're gonna have a workshop or not.
Right.
And then we get a date,
Yeah,
and then we can, if it's mid-July, we could still work on it at our July meeting, but then we would have it all, because otherwise I fear that if we wait until July, we won't be able to get it on the calendar and get it
right.
set up.
But that
But
sounds
first,
good.
the first discussion
Yeah.
is whether we want to have a workshop or not.
Right.
I definitely would like to have a workshop.
Well, one of my concerns is, just based on looking at this, there's no big call for it to happen. It's basically 50-50 on do they want to raise, do people think that it should be raised or not? So to me, that tells me there's not a big call for that. But that's just looking at this first stage of the numbers, not looking at the comments. Particularly when we're talking about, what was the number, 200 and?
I think we should take the numbers off the table and not the money and look at the idea. Because the money that's to council to find where the money comes from. I think for us, it's good, what's important is to look at, is this a useful, valid idea? Do we, as a rec commission, do we think that, we do the workshop, we hear what people say, do we think this is a good idea? And then leave the money talk more to council, because they're gonna be the ones to allocate whether yes or no on it.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Murphy, in the Libby Bowl committee meetings, are there, I'm assuming there are discussions up
There have
on
been
that
a
topic
limited
or
number,
not?
but this is not the meat of the work that they're working on
Oh,
right now.
okay, so it isn't
This
sort
has
of
been
one
sent
of
to the rec commission.
Right,
To,
Sure.
has a body that would interface with the public to try and get some feedback.
Okay.
And then what I would see is that we make a recommendation and we present the information that we've gathered when we're comfortable with that. I would like to see us have an open house, because I think we could do two things at once, honestly.
Well-
I think we could have a workshop, open house, kind of, not an open house per se like we do, but
I know what
and
you
a day where we have the room and we put up some information and have people there to talk to and take in that feedback. And I think we could do it for the sports court.
at the same
And-
time.
I
I
do.
thought that was the plan.
Yeah, at the same
well,
time.
Originally, there was gonna be multi-sport court and,
Right,
Right. And I would agree. I think given that we almost certainly want to have that kind of workshop for the multi-sport courts, we may as well add the lawn in. We've been kicking around this lawn thing for a long time. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to just kind of wrap it up.
As it stands right now, I think the way I see it, we have all the information we need. I mean, there's already been preliminary plans, so to speak, drawn up. The cost, I think, I disagree with you. I think the cost should be thrown into the matter 100%, because that's a big factor in whether or not people are gonna make, say, oh crap, where's this money coming from? You know, to me, that's a big thing. It's also a big thing for city council. You can say the same thing about, like, let's put a water slide in the park, where's that money gonna come from? Oh, it's only $2 million, then that's gonna come off the plate for that right off the bat. So money matters, I think, but we have all the information we need, with the exception of a balanced scale here on whether we're gonna make the recommendation for yay or nay, because it's not our recommendation, it's what the people want. And as it stands right now, it's really close on yay and nay. And so where we go from here is that's the number one priority. We have everything we need to present, but we just need to present a yes or a no.
yeah, your recommendation. Is
Correct.
yes or
Our
no.
recommendation
Right,
of
right.
yes or,
And
whether we
it's-
want to or whether we don't.
And based on what you're saying is what's the people, it's mildly on the yes side, which,
Right.
right now, not overwhelmingly, obviously, but it's close.
Yep.
But then, yeah, it will be up to council to decide ultimately.
Absolutely.
either way.
I wish we had something that was more of a landslide to give them, and we have all the information we need, with the exception of, a tip on that scale, one way or the other, from feedback. So should we go further on the feedback? I don't know.
It doesn't hurt.
No, it does not hurt.
It-
I
I think the workshop, I think the key is, the word in that whole thing is prioritize. And what's the best use of the council's time and budget and ours? And see, maybe if we have these workshops, it's overwhelming for the sport courts and not for the seating, and we can move some of the money from this, I don't know.
I don't know that there's money there for the
Well,
seating.
I don't know if
That
there
would
is,
be an assumption.
but I'm saying, but I think, I agree with Eric that I think the money, the allocated money and the cost has to be part of that discussion, because it's, what's the best use of the funds?
I think,
What do the people want it to do with that money, if there is there, and what is their priority list? Not ours, but theirs.
well, I think that's a lovely idea, that we have the CIP, but it's a separate idea for me. I think that when you're talking about prioritization, whether I think this is a good idea and that it would serve a purpose and seeing its value, for me is a separate issue as to where I would prioritize it in the CIP. They're two, I need to keep them separated, because I don't want to look at a project that could be a great project, but it's just not the one I think should come first and put the kibosh on it. It doesn't mean it should be off the list, it just means that if we're putting it on our list, we might not put it number one. So I feel like they're two separate issues, the value of a project versus where it comes in the CIP prioritization.
Maybe it would have been better to frame the question, are you interested in raising the seating? This is how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you would have, you know what I mean? I mean,
But
you-
again, that's
you'd
two
have to
questions.
show people like, well, this is how much all these other things
no, I
cost.
understand, but that's my point about, if we're going to recommend something to the council, I think we should recommend something where the whole idea is.
This came to us as a request to look at the
Mm-hmm.
idea from the council. So they're looking for feedback on do people want it elevated in this and that? I think, and so again, there's the project and then there's the prioritization, which are two different things very clearly for me.
Right, that's why I said the keyword's prioritize, because you may have had a landslide of people that said, yeah, I'd like to have that done. It's just not incredibly important to me, but I'd like to have it done, which,
And I think our numbers are only improved by more people participating.
sure.
It doesn't make it any less clear if we have the workshop and get more public feedback, so. I'd prefer to get the more public feedback since we're already going to do a workshop anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, so is anyone opposed to including this in a workshop on both topics? Okay,
Definitely needed, I think.
okay. Then I think that's it, right?
So then the next step is just,
Oh, yeah,
getting that on the
let's talk
books.
about scheduling this thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So a weekend?
Saturday,
I think a weekend
Saturday.
day is good. It works best for our programming too.
right, and
at the
there
park.
aren't sports,
We
there are
don't
no
have to-
organized sports during the summer that people are gonna be doing.
That I know
As
of,
far as it's
right?
not like
Not
it's,
on our side.
because
No,
when we
it's
try and
not-
do it during the
right.
school year, there's soccer, there's basketball.
Not
During
on
the
our side
summer,
on
people may be
Saturdays.
vacationing, but they're not doing sports on Saturday.
Right, so we're looking at a Saturday in the second half of July.
Or it could be sooner, if,
Okay,
Sooner the better. I think baseball season just ended and soccer season starting up pretty soon.
And
okay,
football.
so it could be
Yeah.
sooner.
after graduation, but that's next week, so, good.
Right, also, if we do it sooner, we won't have another meeting before then.
You could do it after
Could. Yeah,
our next
then-
meeting, like July 14th.
That is July
Our
14th.
next meeting will be July 5th. Oh, are we gonna meet the day after 4th of July? Is that?
And how do we get word of this workshop out?
That's a very good question.
We will,
Well, the
The
same
same
way that
way
we
we
got
got
the
our
typical
survey
method,
responses.
Monkey, email, Facebook.
Flyers in our office.
You're gonna
If
have,
somebody wanted to put, we could make a flyer if one of the commissioners wanted to take them around town.
we could,
we,
Yeah.
yeah. Our
library.
mass email and Facebook are two,
that's how we got the
that's how
200
we
for
got the
this.
responses
Yeah.
to begin with.
We can also do our website and probably the city website as well, which gets quite a bit of traffic, and Channel 10.
Channel 10 infomercial.
10.
Am I the only resident of this city that doesn't watch Channel 10?
Yes.
I have
Yeah,
DirecTV,
Everyone
so
watches
I
Channel
don't get
Everyone
it.
watches.
Well, now
You can watch it online.
Live stream, so
live stream it.
that
You
one's
are
been
in the
fixed.
minority if you don't watch
Apparently.
Channel 10. Well, yeah, the
14th or
14th.
21st.
I
Do you
don't
guys-
think we have a preference programming wise or activity wise. I mean,
Do you want to narrow it down to those two and check before you commit to anything? I could
Yeah.
make sure that you can
we can.
make it work.
Yeah, I think either of them would work. We do have a Tai Chi class in the morning, but we could schedule some, I'm assuming we're gonna go something in the afternoon-ish or not? Or what are you thinking? Middle of the day actually isn't the greatest necessarily.
I think it'd be good to maybe have a bigger chunk of time when,
So it's an
commissioners are
open
there, so-
time to come and
yeah,
go.
and maybe we do a couple rounds of like a formal presentation, but just so that we can accommodate people's schedules.
And it doesn't feel like the dais and you're sitting there. It's a
Right.
more open venue for sharing information.
Yeah.
I want to lay it out that way, like a 10 to 2, 10 to 3.
Yeah, I think so.
10 to 2 works, I think. That's in,
At the morning, at the
Mhm.
afternoon.
Yeah, actually, we can move the Tai Chi
oh,
class
is that
into.
how we can move?
No,
to
we
the
can
gym?
move the Tai Chi class into the gym.
Okay, for
They
that day.
actually like the
Okay.
gym.
Will you be serving canapes during lunch?
No.
I mean, that kills my lunchtime right there.
We
So
will have
this
something
14th,
that- we will have
should we
things.
consider the
Could do
28th
refreshments.
as well? Is that another option?
It's just pushing it pretty late in July.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think we have any facility conflicts any of the Saturdays in July that either of us are aware of.
We are aware of, yeah.
Yeah, and the only other thing about this, not to throw a wrench in the works, is I guess we'll have our August meeting to talk about it. Yeah, never mind, we'll be fine. Because, as far as the presentation and,
Right,
kind of
yeah,
get everything digested and,
yeah.
No.
I-
And if you want to talk about it, the August 2nd meeting, the 28th wouldn't give you as much time to digest,
Agendize
prepare
it.
I think
information
earlier
for
is
you
better.
guys.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I personally am not available on the 14th. I would be on the 21st.
Okay, so shoot for the 21st.
Okay.
10 to 2.
I mean, I
That
threw
sounds
that
good.
time out there,
Yeah.
but that's,
I
I think 10 to
that's
2 is good, yeah.
Okay, so anything else on the scheduling of this?
No.
And I think the bigger discussion then is the multi-sport courts. So we received information last time about the placement of the parks, of the courts, and Councilmember Blatz, I don't know if you're up to speed on the proposed layout of these two courts.
I was here last month.
Okay, so you remember that. A concern I had was that seeing it visually, like being there on the field, the two courts seemed very imposing and kind of juts into the baseball fields. It would require a very tall fence, so it'd be this big, it's not just like a court, it's like a cage, basically. So I think that's something to discuss. If we want to think about other layouts or just one court, we had the option of starting with one court, even putting it in kind of the middle and then adding a section to either side to create two courts. But I think also some of the city staff have looked at other locations in the park.
yeah, where the horseshoe pits are currently,
Mm-hmm.
that's big enough. We, once again, stepped it off. We did a very rudimentary measurement, but stepping that area off, you could get another futsal court there, although what was supposed to go in that space, in that footprint, was restrooms and snack bar.
Part of the playground, too.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it was playground, but it was snack bar and restroom. The biggest part of that footprint was
Right.
snack bar and restroom.
Because also part of the playground in the new plan is not, it's split more between the younger and the slightly older.
Maybe so. It could be. I don't have the master plan in front of me, but that was another. I think it will. The master plan is a framework. It's a
Yeah.
recommendation of what we want. Maybe we don't need a restroom there or another snack bar there. Like what is when we talk about prioritizing, is it better to put a second futsal court there instead of another restroom and snack bar?
Yeah.
So that was one of the other locations where another basketball / futsal
Yeah.
court would fit.
One question I had was, would there be room in the parking lot at the south side?
Right. Because
Um,
in the plan, the parking lot
Oh,
goes
the-
away, and there's the width there, and could you run it that way in the parking? I think
Yeah.
I see
So,
what you're
take the
saying.
parking lot and
Because ultimately, that parking
The
lot is
back.
slated in the plan
I'm
to not
not
be
sure
there.
width-wise it would,
Okay.
if it's big
Especially
enough.
with the path that's supposed to go there, because the plan has the path built in as well.
Well, again, yeah, we take out some of the plan ideas of a picnic tables
So,
there.
yeah, I think kind of a higher level question is, do we want to consider other layouts than what was in the master plan?
Before you have a workshop.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely think it's worth
Other
considering.
layouts in other
For example,
places,
where the
other
horseshoe.
places in the park.
Yeah.
Or,
right.
or over in where the parking
Or
lot
in the
is.
parking
Um,
lot, yeah.
We could. I mean, I'm not sure where our designer our designer skills are in making that.
No,
making
but
that
I
work
think,
or look.
what we learned from this exercise is that the master plan wasn't really detailed enough for us to kind of execute on,
Yeah.
right? Because when we took the next step and actually put the physical markers there, it's a little different than at least what I expected. I don't know
Mhm.
if other people
Sure.
had
Then
that same
seeing it on a
experience.
piece of paper, absolutely.
And so, I mean, I think just measuring out spaces where a court could fit is a really useful exercise. It's something that we can do. It's not really a planner thing.
It is. It is something we can do and say, okay, do we want, again, the snack bar, restrooms there, or would another futsal court be better?
This is where our facilities committee would have come in handy. Because this is the kind of work that could easily be done as committee work, I think. That was kind of some of the stuff that happened in like the facilities committee.
Uh-huh.
Money factor, again, the money factor comes in too. So you build to, the cost is in the
but the-
$300,000 range. If we say, hey, we want to, where we said we originally wanted them, build them. It's gonna delay the project, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's the
I think
reality
that
of it.
the really honoring the idea of the master plan is important. And that the design is what we should focus on more than the cost right now, trying to figure out the right locations. And then
Sure.
ultimately, I mean, if it's prohibitive and there's a reason that it's absolutely a no-go, that's one thing, but I think we should be focusing on where it best fits in the park.
So,
But
And that's, yeah, I think that's what this
Yeah.
body is for, but also the workshop is for to,
I think it's hard, we're not gonna do it tonight, I don't think.
no.
We don't have the drawings in front of us, I think it's some work that needs to be, I think it might be well dealt with in a committee to bring back some ideas.
Right, so I think as a commission, if we're open to considering other layouts, then yes, we can assemble some people to figure out where a second court could fit, or where 2 courts total could fit.
So you could look at it where 2 courts could fit, or where 2 separate courts could fit
Right.
best within the park.
Yeah,
And then as you're looking at rearranging things in the master plan, you're looking forward to the next step, which is moving,
right. 'cause there are
whatever it
other
is.
elements
Either if
of
it goes away, or where else could
what
you put
happens
it
to
based
that.
on opening up space,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, other commissioners, thoughts?
My frustration with this is that, and I'm easily frustrated, maybe I'm an instant gratification guy. We talk and think this stuff and nothing ever happens. I mean, it seems like we make an idea and we make a plan and then it gets sidetracked at some point and then nothing ever gets built or nothing ever gets passed it's frustrating to me. I mean,
Well, we did do the story polls, which then informed the next step. So we have had steps, and we have taken, it's like all things, though, to do it right, though, sometimes you have to step back when you realize that it isn't maybe the
no,
way it
I
needs
get
to
all
be.
that part. I mean, I was there when we pasted off originally.
yeah.
And looked at it, and I didn't see a huge issue, personally, with where they were. And so then it boils down to me about, then we do have to get back into the 2 separate ones that are gonna cost twice as much, and maybe cost is something that's just how my mind works. That's, I think part of our job is to protect the dollars and try to get some of this stuff done. Otherwise, it's great plans, but nobody ever gets to use any of it. So I like to get on a track, make a plan, get it passed, and move on to the next thing so people can use in the park instead of thinking them to death. But that's, again, maybe I go about this all wrong, not being a huge government service person.
Well, I
Well,
think you get one shot at it, so if you get one shot at it, you want to make sure that it is the best design and the best location, and that we've taken in the feedback and we've looked at the alternatives and make sure that this is really the best choice. I think the progress is a different kind of progress. It's not progress as here it is on the ground, but we've asked better questions, and we're coming up with what it is we need to look at and how we are going to get to that place with the best project.
Can I make you feel better, Commissioner Murphy?
I doubt it, but no, I'm sure you can. No, I'm
Here,
kidding.
I'm gonna do it. It took 14, 15 years to build an in-ground skate park.
To be clear, that is not a process that we want to
So
repeat,
we're not going to, right, we don't
having
want
seen
to,
it through.
I'm just making him feel better.
I don't know that
I don't
it
know if that
does.
did that.
I don't think
Okay.
it does.
Well, if, we'll
that
do
put
it in
arson
less
on
than
the,
half
put
that
gas on
time.
the
How,
fire.
well, how about that? We'll do it in less than half that time. But I'm just saying, sometimes it takes,
I
as
can give you an
Commissioner Inner pointed out, it does take, we want to do it right the first time and not have regrets or builder's remorse because we rushed into it.
We actually have a
And-
really good example. The really good example is the picnic structures.
Yeah.
That was slated to, let's do it, here we go, we're gonna put it right where it was. And it took a lot of effort from this body to slow it down enough to really look at the design and make sure it made sense with our master plan and come up with what we have now, which I think is far better for the park than what we were gonna do. We had the money, they were gonna go,
Yeah.
it was gonna happen.
It was gonna go right back in the same
Because it was
exact
gonna go right in the
footprint.
middle of the,
Yeah.
yeah, it was not a good footprint, it wasn't a good design, it didn't ultimately benefit the park. And so sometimes slowing down and pumping the brakes on these things, we end up with something better than we would have if we just,
Are
gone
we,
ahead.
are we going to have 10 different designs, 5 of which we could never, ever afford? Or are we just gonna have 1 or 2 or 3 designs that we know are within budget, in the long run?
I hope we don't have 10.
Right.
I think that's the
Well,
committee
what I'm
workshop.
getting at is we can think this thing and rethink it and rethink it and regurgitate it, which we've been doing. And right now, I think we're already on two designs as it is, and we're thinking 3 designs, we're thinking of a 4th. I get it, we need to rethink things as we go along in the process, but I also think that the money should be a factor, because if we overthink it, it's like designing a house on a dream budget, but we don't have a dream budget.
Well, so to bring it back right now, there are 4 people here. And if you had to ask us right now, I'd like to look at it, you'd like to look at it. Sounds like you don't and you don't, so we're kind of we're not gonna go any farther with this tonight probably
No, I
anyway.
didn't say I didn't want to look at it. I'm just saying that the process, my point was the process is incredibly frustrating for me. That's all. Because I'd like my grandkids to be able to use that court, and at this point, that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well,
Oh, I don't
Oh,
think it's
yes,
going
it
that
will.
slowly.
You're
You have
Not
the-
based on 18 years for a
No,
skate park.
Well,
I
that
was
wasn't
making you
helpful.
feel, no, I was, yeah, wait a minute, it was helpful. I was saying, it took, when you talk about a long time frame.
Yeah.
That's a long time frame. 18
And
years
to
is
be fair,
long. A year and a
participating, it was
half.
ridiculous.
A year and a half and 2 years is not long. That was my point.
But-
2 years isn't a long time.
I think-
18 years, 15, 16 years is a long time. 2 years isn't that much time.
Also,
I agree with that.
What I'm suggesting is, I think, draws this out a few months.
Right.
Like
Right.
having a recommendation today versus in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I wasn't expecting to make a recommendation today. I'm just looking at least from my experience here, every time we change something, it's 6 months.
uh-huh.
And it's 7 months, and it's 8 months, and it has to go here and it has to go there. And that, just for me personally, is the very frustrating part of, I'd like to see stuff like done and people can use it.
Right.
And maybe that's a bad thing, I don't know, but
I think that the scope, we can narrow the scope of this,
Yeah.
if that helps. In my mind, it's that southeast corner of the park. Kind of what's the best placement of 2 sports courts in that corner of the
Yeah.
park?
I can agree with
Well,
that.
I'm happy to help, so
Okay.
if you, Sophocles, and I want to meet and look
Okay.
at the master plan and walk it off, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that before our next meeting.
Yeah, because we want to have something obviously
Yep.
concrete for the workshop.
Yeah.
When people come in and
Yep.
there's a specific number of designs, not 10. But
We're getting close.
we'll scale it back. It'll be maybe half that, possibly.
Yeah,
Five.
I think it's kind
Five's
of-
not too many different, 5 options, isn't that?
it's just identifying where individual courts could fit.
Right.
So we have, we've identified one location where 2 courts can fit
Mhm.
side by
Right.
side.
That's it.
Yeah,
I've worked in the
right.
design industry doing CAD stuff for a while, and there's a name for something like this, a project like this, it's called a cash cow, because you guys keep coming back for redesign. So I wish we can go along with this project and give some concrete recommendations, make a decision and go with it.
I don't know that we're asking them to redesign it on each of these. I think what we're saying is that we know what the parameters of the design will be. Can we look at where we could put it? Which is different than asking them to regenerate or redesign it for each of the locations.
Yeah, we wouldn't go back to Community Works
No.
each time and say, hey, Community Works, the actual designer, to say, okay, do this, do that. We're gonna attempt that in-house.
In-house,
Pick the
yes.
location and then,
But it would be nice that maybe the next time we do the step off and the walk off, or looking at alternate locations, because you do have that background in it. If we'll invite you out there.
If
you
I had a
have the
base
time.
map, if I had a base map that was drawn 1-to-1 in CAD, I can tell you exactly where it would or would not fit within a couple of seconds of just
Oh.
moving a block around
Great.
here and there.
Well,
Because we already have
but
the
I,
parameters for the.
we might be able to get that from our designer. I don't know
Okay,
enough
so no, but
about
that's
it.
committee work.
Right.
No.
We can
right.
move on and work on that when we have a committee meeting, or a meeting about this. It's not a committee, never mind, in the next few weeks.
Right, but does that exist? This,
That's what I'm
Map.
saying. That's what I'm.
I don't think
trying
it
to say.
does. At best, I think that conceptual design was done in Revit. And if that was the case, then there would be a base map, but it wouldn't be a true surveyed base map.
Right.
Well, I'm trying to, I've made a request to get that.
The survey.
If there is a CAD.
Okay,
If
so-
there is a CAD, I made a
Can-
request to Community Works to get that.
can you circulate it to the commission?
If
to get it?
if and when I get it, I will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Because when,
you know, like the drip line, like, that, we need very detailed,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't seem like we had that,
well, I think when we walked with them, we knew we didn't have that.
right?
It was clear that one of the things that would need to be done to move forward with all of these plans was a survey. When we walked the park, it was with them, it was clear that we didn't have any of that yet. So,
But Commissioner Intner and I will work with Sophocles to try to identify possible locations for
Sure.
courts. Okay.
Between now and then, well, you guys contact me and we'll.
I'm pretty
Okay.
flexible,
Set a date.
so.
All right, so that sounds like the next step. Look and see if physically there are other locations in that corner of the park for a total of 2 courts.
Mhm.
Anything else on that topic?
Can I ask you, what did you call the map specifically?
Base map.
A base map.
That's the actual dimensions of the land, the parking lot, the lawn, the outskirts of the PL, any easements that are in there. All that's laid down,
Trees.
the trees, laid down at the bottom, and they call it a base map, and you build on top of that.
Then we could just take
Thank
a
you.
rectangle the size of the court.
Correct.
And move it
That's why
around.
it would only take 1 second to tell you if it fits right there, or right there, or
I
right
think they
there.
just use Google Earth, or that kind of map.
Okay.
Okay, so then for the workshop on that, I think it would be presenting different options for the layout and explaining, you know, the fencing, like we'd need relatively high fencing and.
Then just get feedback, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a very visual issue, so we should be thinking about too, can we present something visual? Should we walk people around?
Mhm.
Could we put up those pipes
The
again?
storyboard, or the
yeah.
story, yeah.
That was very
Do a
informative.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Have those up yeah, that's a good idea.
So we would, at our July meeting, I think we'd have to do that. I mean, realistically, could we have drawings of what, like, in 3 dimensions, what these courts would look like, or?
I don't know if we have anyone on staff has that
You know,
capability.
so it's probably more realistic that we would be able to put up those pipes,
Go stand
Have
there
it
and look at
physical.
it.
which is
Yeah.
great, because
No.
that's,
Yeah.
that's exactly where,
Any of us, it's easier.
yeah. But, you know, okay,
Yeah, 3D drawing would
yeah,
be nice too. But we'll see if we can, if there's someone on staff that can
okay.
coordinate.
But more likely,
happen.
we're gonna be taking people on a little site tour.
Yeah.
If we have options.
Do you have anybody on staff that's really computer literate with computer art?
Mm-hmm.
They could probably put something together that's generally
Yeah, it wouldn't be,
about, that you could submit visually. That would be better, that it's not a hand drawing, but it's done on a computer and probably 100th of the time.
Well, we can work on that at our meeting.
yeah, we
Trying to figure
can.
that out.
We
Just
think.
a thought.
Yeah,
We might have someone on staff that can do that. It's the same person that computer designed that T-shirt, and drew all those robots. That person, I don't want to, yeah. Anyway,
Okay, anything else on
yeah.
this agenda item? It's good. Councilmember Blatz, I don't know how you're doing on time. We do have one more big agenda item, which is talking about the naming policy. I don't know if you wanted, okay, great. So then item 8D is naming policy for city facilities and plaques. This was on our agenda last month. Commissioner Murphy wasn't here, so we tabled it until this month. So we have this draft, which was put together a while ago, and it's time to discuss.
Was the highlight something that was added, or
Which highlight?
there's a highlight that was in yellow? Like, on here, it's in kind of hazy gray. Was that new content to the?
It's like section 4.4.
What you guys have is exactly how I got it.
Okay, so
I
you
think
didn't add the highlight, it was already there.
I have
Okay.
highlights on mine, but I believe that the ones on yours are,
We just want it darker.
are from that original committee. So I think that was stuff that was still pending for them.
Okay, that was up for discussion. Okay, I was just trying to figure that out.
So Commissioner Murphy, do you want to introduce anything in this?
As far as a motion,
Well, I don't think we're ready for a motion, but
I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
have you gone through this document?
Yeah, I
Okay.
went through it originally twice.
Okay,
Um,
and what are your thoughts on it?
it covers a lot of bases. I mean, I originally got involved in this because I had members of the community come to me and they wanted to put plaques up, as you guys remember, at the Boyd Center, and this was a year and a half ago. And now we're to this point, and it seems to cover most everything in pretty expansive detail. I don't know, again, how, what's the right word? I guess it's something we have to have if we're gonna proceed down this path. You know, for other people that might wanna do this. And this seems to cover everything from memorials to basic plaques to naming a bench to naming a tree to naming a new building. It's pretty inclusive. So I didn't, the part that I read through it originally, I had a couple of questions with Allison that we talked about the plaques and how those differentiate out. But that was my whole point of emphasis was I was approached about having something done, and this is where we are with this at this point. So I like it. I mean, everything that I read about it, I didn't see anything that I didn't like. If that was your question.
No, thanks. Yeah. Other commissioners?
Works for me. It's pretty simple, straightforward. It's not our decision anyway, so this is a pretty good, straightforward procedure to hand off.
Commissioner Antner?
I'm fine.
Okay. So I think content-wise, it seemed fine. I think organizationally, it was kind of challenging to read through it because it kind of mixes these different
Goes back and forth.
things, you know, because there's,
I agree with that.
reading through it, kind of like you mentioned, there's new facilities, naming existing facilities, and then plaques and memorials. So they're like 3 separate things. And for each of those, we want to know that the criteria, the funding and the work which is in here, who reviews it, and then what is the review and approval process. And I think,
Right.
like, if it was just laid out that cleanly, like, okay, we're gonna talk about new facilities, and we're gonna go through those 4 things. What are the criteria, what are the funding, which it kind of starts to do.
Right.
Like, that would be a lot easier to read and understand.
Yeah, so that you didn't have to jump around trying to find the.
Yeah,
relevant
and there's also
portion of
some
each.
inconsistencies. I think because of the way it's laid out, there's some things that it's like, what? It's inconsistent because it's talking about
One, but
the
not
wrong
yeah.
item or something.
Yeah, there are a couple places.
So that'd be my request, would be just kind of organizationally to improve this.
So does that make
Okay,
sense?
So to clarify, so essentially after definitions, you would have 3 categories: new facilities, existing facilities, and then plaques and memorials. And then under each of those, you'd have how you pick the criteria, how it's funded, how it's designed, and how it's reviewed and approved.
Yeah.
So you just have it broken down that way.
Yeah.
So it would get, I think the reason it wasn't done that way is probably because it would be repetitive, but you're saying it would just be easier because if I'm doing a new facility, I'm gonna read that section.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yes.
Pull the section.
Thank
That makes
you.
sense.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
that's it.
I think I could probably figure out how to lay it out that way.
I had one specific comment, which was like section 4.2. So this was for, I think this is the naming. No, this is just general.
Policy.
That's
All
a
of them.
facility name. right, 4.2?
Right, so 4.2, the naming of city facilities. So it says you have to meet two criteria.
One of the following two.
One of the following two. So the first one is that the individual has been deceased for at least a year and has either been a resident of Ojai for 5 years or made significant contribution to the community. And the other is that the person or organization made significant contribution to the community. So it seems like,
You should cross that out of the first one. The significance should belong only in one, not in both.
right, or if they have to have made a significant contribution to the community, then that's
That is the criteria,
And
okay.
it doesn't matter if they're dead or how long they've been dead. Or it does. But anyways, that logic could be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't have a specific recommendation
Okay.
on what the criteria should be.
And it also says A on the one, and, yeah, I guess that's the B, okay.
Also, kind of on wording, there were some things where, like, section 4.34, it says that, acceptance of a naming proposal by an organization conducting a fundraising campaign must be considered as conditional pending until a review and recommendation by city staff for non-recreation facilities and from Parks and Recreation Commission for recreation facilities. A final approval by the city council is required, which makes sense. But it's
That's the way it's stated.
right. So here it says, like, first it says it's pending until it's reviewed by city staff and commission, but then it says, well, it's still pending until city council approves it. So that could just be more clear. that
Almost
it-
like,
Yeah,
there's a subset for parks-related facilities, because they have to go to the commission, whereas
Right,
the others goes
right.
directly to council. Right?
Right, but regardless, council has
Council should
to,
just be included in that list instead of.
yeah, and that would,
list and then
if
council.
we're, going to kind of the organization I suggested, for each of those sections, it would spell out the process.
Yeah.
Or if it's the same process, then it could go kind of before.
And the
There's
way I
the-
read that was all based on the fundraising part, where you can't accept a proposal unless they have the money.
Uh-huh.
That's where I broke it down, is that's where it was tentatively approved, because we don't know if the person or group can pay for it yet. And once they have the money in place, then it goes before us or before city staff, and then finally approved by the city council. So, and maybe I misunderstood that, but that was just a process of making it pending until we know.
Right, I think it's just, at first it sounds like it's pending until city staff and the commission
Right.
review it, but then it sounds like it's still pending
Until the money,
until city council reviews it.
Yeah.
That's all. just
Yeah.
kind of-
Okay.
and then the money is a separate,
Yeah. And then on section 4.5.1.1, design criteria.
It's a lot of 1 point.
So this is on memorials. It's a criteria. The memorial contributes to the location from a functional or design standpoint. To me, it seemed like that's kind of a high bar to set, that it has to kind of add to the look or function of a place. I would suggest saying it doesn't detract from.
that is much better.
Yeah, I agree. That is much better.
That's a good, yeah.
And then also in that subsection, it talks about logos and saying they can't be used. But I thought, like, if a memorial is for an organization, that organization's
logo.
logo would probably would want to include it or consider it. So it's just, that's kind of a detail, but
This may also be, again, depending on where you're doing it. Is it an individual? Is it not an individual? Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think what I took away is they're getting at that even if someone's sponsoring it, they can't put their logo on.
Right, exactly.
You don't
yeah.
want a Nike swoosh on
Right.
somebody's
Yeah.
flag when
Right.
Nike comes back.
But I,
and
but I
says,
don't think
"Wait
it gets.
But you might want a Rotary
Gotta-
Club.
Yeah,
You're right.
exactly. It needs clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean no commercial? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think so. It probably takes some more thought to, to get it very precise. But I think that's what I had in mind, was commercial.
it says their logos may not appear on plaque acknowledging memorial donors, but maybe that's commercial donors.
Right, well, so that's another question too, like if it's the Rotary Club, for example, donation,
For someone else, do you still want Rotary on there?
yeah,
Or, you know,
maybe not.
I don't
but
know.
If it's like the
Oh, I see
Rotary
what
Club
they're-
bench, you know.
Yeah,
or
we'd like to
something.
name this bench for the Lions Club, brought to you by, you know, Paul and Frank and Pat and whoever. That's,
Right.
I think, the point. They don't want the contributors getting the,
Right.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
but maybe the
It's not an
Lions.
advertisement.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
But back to the question of a nonprofit. So if the Land Conservancy does it for something, you know, then it's,
yeah.
This-
so
this part
I think
needs
there's
more
some
clarification,
thought
yeah.
there. What else? Yeah, I think that was it for me. I mean, I think this form, when we get to the end of this, we'd redo the form. at the
Yeah,
end.
that was on my list to,
But that's,
just-
I think we
just
should wait till we've
formatting.
actually like,
Get the
yeah.
changes and see it in its
get the
actual format.
changes and then
Yep.
make a form
Okay,
that matches
so no
that.
recommendation tonight.
I don't.
Yeah.
So Allison, it sounds like you would be the one working on this, is that?
It does
In all
sound
your
that way,
spare
yes.
time? I mean, do we need someone else to work on it from the commission or from staff?
Well, or
And
maybe
the bulk
even,
of it would be a one person
Just reorganizing.
shuffling through, and then maybe I could have somebody that I send it to
If you,
One
if
person
you
to
want to
send
send
it
it
to
to me
give
to
feedback.
look at, and then I could
Give
communicate with you,
feedback.
that would be great,
Okay.
since I'm on that.
Don't send it
committee
to me.
anyway.
I guess I read too much.
yes, sir.
Code of Federal Regulations, because it pretty much made sense to me.
it looks normal.
Yeah, well,
It's-
compared to other federal documents, sure.
Yeah. All the information's there, it's just a matter of organization, I think, and
Yeah,
clarification on
and
certain
then, right,
things.
I think if it's organized, if it's a little easier to read, then
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to identify those like finer points.
I don't know if it makes sense either, but ultimately this is not gonna be something we manage. So I don't know if it makes sense to get it to the city manager or his assistant to look at, because we're not gonna actually facilitate this process.
Correct.
It
So,
was passed on to me
Once you
from
get it
the
to where
city
you
manager's
are, maybe
office,
it's worth, moving it over just to have them take a look before we
That's
move any
what I-
farther, because I'd hate to do a lot of work and then realize that we're,
I figure
pretty
it'll
far off base.
ultimately
Well,
go, to city manager's office and then even the city attorney ultimately.
Yep.
Right, and,
Definitely the city.
but, and it's interesting because these things have been happening in lieu of this
Yeah.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
I mean,
I
so,
have. Yeah.
Which
you
is
know,
why-
I go back to the point where, I mean, is it even necessary, since we've been doing it the other way?
that was exactly the discussion I had when we
forever?
started.
Right, I remember.
But in our
But
world,
no, I
where it's
mean,
getting
I
more
mean
and more-
years and years ago before
Oh.
everyone was here when we
Okay.
started this original process.
Well, I do think, for consistency's sake, I do think it is important to have, personally. That's my personal opinion. For consistency, when someone does approach, instead of,
Well, and
how
efficiency.
do I make it happen?
Mhm.
What's the process? What is the process now?
Exactly.
They go to the city and they say, this is what we want.
Can
to
I
The
do
city
it?
says Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right. Is that a good process? Is that a good process of, I'll
Well,
pick and choose,
We're this
or
far
I'll
along,
decide?
so we'll
No,
continue.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. We'll
I'm
continue
completely
down, we'll
with
get
you
it
on
done.
this.
Yeah.
We'll make these modifications. Hopefully, we'll get it to the city manager's office for someone to review there, and then it'll come back to us, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
move it forward.
We'll do what every bureaucracy does, and if they ask us a question, we submit them a form to ask the proper way to ask a question.
Hence my frustration.
Okay, anything else on 8D? All right, recreation staff report updates,
Oh,
item 9.
all right.
And I actually need to go.
Open house. Do you guys have any feedback about the open house, those that were there? We felt it was a little less attended than it was from the previous year, but
The year
still
before
good
that, too.
nonetheless. Yeah, in the year before that.
And it wasn't
I-
just the
I don't know why.
attendees, it was also the people
Booths.
presenting the booths were very light. That
Yeah.
was not it wasn't nearly as robust as it's been in previous years.
No, it's true. I think we
We
had
had
less
two less.
instructors.
It was more than
Oh,
that.
and then we had 2 that didn't show up, so we
It
had
was
4 less.
at least, yeah.
It's supposed to be 2 less.
Yeah.
Going back 2 years.
It was
like
much
tons
less.
of booths.
Yeah, because it's a
Yeah.
lot more robust.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
too, it would be good to promote it more. It needs more,
Yeah, this-
it needs more promotion.
This year, we cut back on both the newspapers. We didn't put in Ventura County Star or Ojai Valley News, partially for budget reasons and partially as kind of an experimental, how much did it do?
The
And I
sad thing
think it
about that
did-
is that with that much staff time and money into all the preparations, to cut back on that's almost like cut off your nose to spite your head face kind of thing, to not do the promotions. Because you've already got a lot into it, so
Well,
to not promote it is, I think it's a miss on that, because to cut back on
Well,
that part is hard.
It was certainly.
We learned that it was a miss. I mean,
was.
in my
It was,
opinion.
it was experimental, and we see what the experiment results
Okay.
were.
Right, so
It resulted in lower
advertising
attendance.
works.
Yes,
is-
I think
is-
we've kind of went down
We
over the
still
last
did
few
put in
years.
advertising. I'm not
Sure.
gonna, like, we didn't, it's not that we didn't advertise, but.
Yeah.
And did you send to the schools?
Mhm,
Okay,
yeah,
so
flyers went out through all the
Yeah,
schools.
we had flyers
We did
out.
everything else except for the newspaper.
Okay.
Everything that we
Well,
normally do. other than
Narrowed
newspaper.
down what it is.
We
So we
tried,
learned.
yeah, we did some sort of, yeah,
The other thing I was, again, back to the partnerships
test.
theme that we've had recently, is adding to the booths, see if the library would like to come out. See if some of these other partnerships might like to come out.
We've
Yeah.
pretty intentionally not done that
Okay,
because it is the Ojai Rec open house and because there can be a lot of confusion for people what's Ojai Rec and what's not. So, once you do that, do include pony baseball and, these are all, these other organizations. So, I mean, we could approach it, but I would just want to let you know that it has been intentional, not including other organizations like that.
but if we're
We
gonna
could.
have that few vendors on our own, it would be better to add in, from my perspective, other things, just to create a much more robust.
The vendor,
It
our
was-
vendor,
Yeah.
our contractor, whatever, class instructor attendance was weak, and it was disappointing.
And it was because people, not available, not because of lack of interest.
Yeah, it
Fine.
wasn't because they didn't
Well, I'll
want.
put out there too, like,
But, yeah,
and maybe
then
getting,
it would require, or potentially, if we see it's going to be a low instructor turnout, that I don't know, maybe we do open it up and we do reach out to library.
Yeah.
Or have that discussion.
Little house.
because the value of those programs is still a huge value to the community, even if we're not providing them.
Yeah.
And so if the
And we could have
value
it
of the
be like
community
another
is
section
trying to, that's fine,
even.
is trying to give them all the wonderful things that they can do and all the ways to participate, there's still value in that. I don't see it as competitive.
Yeah, I don't think
Oh,
it
it
wasn't a
wasn't
competitive.
like-
I understand, but I mean, I don't think that the confusion is of a great concern. I think it's better just for people to see all the very, wonderful things that are provided. Like for the library, I'd love to see them kick off their library summer reading program. Any way we can support them and getting as many kids as possible into the summer reading program, great. But I think and the other thing too is that, just from my household, the ultimate Frisbee guys would like to come. So it's like this, you don't know that until and it's funny, but they would love to come and do a demonstration or run a little clinic so maybe
Yeah.
we just get, we are strongly leaning at this point on staff and contractors. Maybe if we could find other ways to profile. And then the thing is, anytime we get other groups in to do things, then they come. The more people, the AYSO thing works fine, or
Right.
the five-a-side, sorry,
Right.
the partnership.
That partnership, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, those are good suggestions. Yeah, the advertising, that one specific piece maybe played a pretty good role because we didn't do it.
or maybe not.
Yeah, and, but your ideas to invite non-recreation department groups is not without possibility.
Yeah, so I thought it was a lot of fun. Thank you for putting it on. It was very
Kids had a great time.
entertaining. I do think like the booths, I mean, it when we have those booths and there's no one there, it kind of sends a message, which is unfortunate. I mean, even thinking like if contractors weren't available, if there was just a poster, so it almost becomes like a physical activity guide, right? So if they're not going to be there, just have a poster that shows like what their summer camp is.
And a
or what their
brochure if we
class
had,
is.
that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Sure.
Yeah. I was not expecting the two people that did not show up. I very much did not expect them to not show up. So,
Yeah. 'Cause, you know, you look at the activity guide, and it's like, there's a million things in here. And then you
Yeah.
look at the booths and it's like, well, it's like a Lego
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely had some
yeah,
big ones
that-
that weren't able to, like our science is a big
Yeah.
one. The cooking, and gardening is a big one.
Wilderness.
Tennis, wilderness. We had
Right.
some big kind of staple instructors that just weren't able to be there,
Yeah.
this
And
year, which
that's
was
like
Was disappointing.
the
It
first one
was
I went to,
that
that's
part.
what stands out in my mind is there were a lot of booths.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And people were just going around to the different booths and kids
Yeah.
were playing with all the little stuff and that
Yeah.
seemed really
Yeah.
nice.
And when that isn't going to happen, we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
Invite outside groups potentially.
And maybe they'd like to just,
So, but that is good feedback.
but it worked really well for the soccer awards, so.
Yeah, that always, that
Very
captive
convenient,
audience
yeah.
always helps. Very convenient, yes. Great. Well, we appreciate those who were commissioners who were able to make it, and thank you for your support there on that day. Summer programs. Okay, so we have some numbers for you. So as you know from our activity guide, we do have just over, I think, 20 or right around 20, 21-ish 1-week specialty camps. We currently have pre-registration of 268 participants in those 20 or so specialty camps. We have 118 pre-registered in the aquatics program. Aquatics, speaking of aquatics, so as you may or may not know, the swim lessons are held at the Villanova High School pool, and public swim is going to be at the Nordhoff pool as it was last summer. We have a little less actual time, hours per, well,
On the Monday through Thursday.
on the Monday through Thursday, I think it was only like a half hour less or something like that. Maybe.
But we significantly expanded the Friday, Saturday. We're doing noon to 5 p.m. on Fridays and
Nice.
Saturdays. So that's
Yeah.
a
So-
really big increase there. And we're extending the weeks. Public swim has been 6 weeks the past few years. We're going to have 8 weeks of public swim this year, which we're
Good.
very excited about.
Yeah.
And we're also adding a swim camp
Yes.
for the weeks
Oh,
of
that's
summer.
nice.
That's a
Swim
new
camp.
addition. Mhm.
So the people can purchase swim passes, individual passes, family passes online. They can come to the rec department to purchase those swim passes. What else about summer? That's about it. We do have some, speaking of partnerships, so Starlight, we partnered with Starlight Dance, so they're offering some dance camps. And the music festival, they're doing a Bravo camp, and their
Oh, that's
registration is coming up. Their numbers are looking good, except they don't have a current location.
They're
Is
working on it.
Working on a location. They're trying to get one of the school sites
Oh.
to run their program there. But enrollment is looking
There's
good
that
there.
need for space.
Yeah, and we have all the other favorites, our soccer camps, our surf camps, and there's still plenty of room in those. But all those wilderness camps got filled up, I think we mentioned, and within 3 hours,
Wow.
they were booked and waitlisted. That's only because the number we were offering is less than the previous summer.
Smaller, okay.
Yeah, smaller number, so supply and demand, that was worked that way. Our last movie night that we had, what was the movie again, Allison? Remind me, do you remember? It was the Sheep, Shaun the Sheep. Shaun the Sheep. So we had just over 60 people come to that movie night, which is a great
It's a
number.
great turnout.
Yeah.
Oh.
We did bump up the price from $10 to $12, nothing significant, and it certainly didn't affect the enrollment or the participation. Our next parent night out is June 22nd. A older classic, a Goofy movie, is definitely, from what I remembered, it's sort of campy, summery kind of movie. So That'll be on Friday, June 22nd. Also happening is, as you know, the music festival. So you can go to ojaifestival.org. I briefly talked with Amber Young, and she mentioned, so tonight at 6 o'clock, they had some pop-up concert in the Libby Park at the gazebo.
They have a lot of pop-ups
They-
this year and free
yeah,
events. There's a
The
lot out
free
there.
events, so I'll just mention one other, will I? Will. Tomorrow night, there's a free event. I'm getting to it. Oh, so, oh no, sorry.
It's okay. They're on the
Yeah,
website.
never
They're all
mind.
there.
They're on the
There's quite a
website.
few
I won't
pop-ups
try to
and,
announce everything,
yeah.
but there are plenty of free events to go to.
Yeah, there really
So
are.
go to ojaifestival.org and you can see all the listings that are coming up. And speaking of Ojai and Amber, so Ojai Day vendor packets are available for 2018. It is likely that Amber Young, even though she is no longer, well, she is still working for the city.
She's no longer
as far
working
as
for the
Libby
city.
Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah, as it
Working
relates
for
to Libby Bowl, but she is, her main job is the music festival.
She works for the music festival.
She works for the music festival, but in all likelihood, she will be coordinating Ojai Day again for us.
Well,
It
that's
is-
a relief.
It is a relief. It is not completely final, but is highly, highly likely. But right now, we've hired a vendor liaison and to oversee the vendor packets that will be coming in or have been coming in.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And that's it on classes and event updates. And then we already talked about the youth commissioner vacancy.
Has that been posted?
I don't think it's been advertised yet.
And so are we gonna wait till the fall, or?
No, no, we're gonna do it this summer,
Well,
soon.
It's in process.
I think,
It is.
To-
I'll have to talk with.
I don't know that I like doing it over the summer myself, in the sense that you're only getting kids who are around and available. You're basically eliminating a certain, that's why I was hoping that we'd get it done during the
The end of the
school year,
school year.
because if you do it at the school, then you at least feel like you can reach everyone. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
it didn't happen that way. I did not go back and review what we discussed, but I thought we had talked to a little bit about, Maya going to even some of her classmates and looking, or reaching out to leadership or,
So,
but they have to be
But
in
it didn't
session to
happen.
do that, yeah.
right, but
Right, but that didn't
it
happen.
did. I talked to Commissioner Gilbert. She did.
It did
at
happen.
least informally reach out to
Informally, yeah.
classmates and had a hard time finding people that were interested and had time
to do it.
to do it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it sounds like it's gonna be challenging.
Yeah, well, so I guess start in the summer,
A lot of candidates. Yeah.
We'll try.
and then we'll go into the school year.
Yeah, I don't know how
I
to.
just keep thinking we need to get to the
Time frame it.
counselors who know who the juniors are, who are finally going, man, I think I need to get some service in, and, because they know, which kids those are.
Yeah.
True, we could reach out to not only Nordoff, but the private schools too, and maybe,
It's open to the valley,
and talk to their, some
or
of
I'd
their,
say just, yeah.
some of their career counselors, or, their, any of
That
their
brings the
counselors.
question too, what our composition is, because I don't know what it is anymore, of in and out. Because that doesn't, whether you're a student or not, it'll affect if we need in or out, depending on what our composition is.
Right. So I think
Maya's out, so we're probably fine.
I think we're fine because
Yeah.
with Maya, we're just right.
Right, and she's outside, so that's fine. Sorry, never
Okay,
mind.
it's okay, well, maybe we'll reach out to some of the school, the school counselors and see if they,
Doubt you're gonna get much
Do it.
right now.
yeah, I doubt that.
Too late.
I doubt that too. It is, yeah.
For this year.
And yeah, ideally it's a sophomore or junior,
Yeah.
so they're around for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Nice if they are.
Okay, well, we will reach out and attempt to work on that over the next
Keep us
couple of
posted.
months. I will keep you posted.
The good news is that Commissioner Gilbert is
She's willing to
around
stay.
over the
Yes,
summer.
she said she'd be here,
Yeah.
this summer.
And
Little
we do have
longer.
a proclamation in the works for her. When, which meeting it'll be presented on, July or August, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Anything else?
No, that's
Staff
all.
Updates?
That's all. Allison, do you have anything you want to add?
Okay, well, thanks for everything. I know you guys are in the busy season.
We are. We're gearing up. Oh, there is the camp shirt right there. Our theme of
great.
the summer is get with the program.
Sweet.
That can mean so many things.
It can. That's why we chose it. And we did give you a camp calendar somewhere in that
Calendar
pile
looks
of
great.
stuff with all the different themes of the week and
Whoever
the
put that
high-
together did a
high-
great job.
highlighted activities. So, yeah,
Oh, look at this.
Oh,
yeah.
it's
Nice.
very readable and
Yeah.
very attractive.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Wow.
Megan Sennett is
Yeah.
our
Megan,
graphic design guru.
And this is on the webpage? This,
It's, oh, I don't even know that it's
It-
online.
it's
in
gonna
our
get on
office.
our webpage.
Yeah, it's a
uh,
great idea.
That's a
the
perfect thing to
Chair
sit out on
Firestone.
Facebook if you can.
Yeah, we can't, they limit what you can do with, on Facebook with things with that much text in them.
Okay.
But
But we most
what we do with
certainly,
those is we pass them out to everybody that registers, so they can put it on the fridge and see
So they know.
what's happening.
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
get that on our webpage, though. We will put it on
that'd be
our
great.
webpage. Yeah.
This is really
It's a good
nice.
suggestion.
It's a lot of work went into this.
Yeah, and so that camp shirt, as you may or may not know, we have a field trip every Wednesday, and campers and staff will be. We ask them to wear that shirt on all the trips, just keep track, easier to identify. Yeah,
A slight aside on
Yeah.
website and activity guide. I noticed with the PDF activity guide, I was trying to sign my daughter up for stuff.
okay, all right.
You can't search the text. So it's a PDF document, but the text itself, like I knew specifically like a word that I wanted. I know when you go to sign people up, like it's not the PDF document, but then you can type in a keyword and
Yeah,
get to what you want. But like usually with a PDF document,
So
if
it's
you know
a
a word you're
scan,
looking
it's
for.
a scan that's a
exactly.
PDF. It's not an actual PDF.
PDF of a picture, basically.
Yes.
Which,
Uh,
okay.
yes.
So I think, I'm not sure if I'm following you. So when you go in, when you want to register for a particular activity and you're in the actual activity guide, if you
Click on
cursor
the-
on the actual activity number,
Yeah.
it will take
That
you
works.
to the,
Right.
that works. So
But
tell me what
so
doesn't
for
work.
specifically, I wanted to sign my daughter up for the Bravo music camp.
Okay.
right? So I opened up the PDF document. I didn't know what page it
Right,
was
where
on.
that would be.
So I
Okay.
hit Control
Right.
F to find.
Oh, to
and I
get
type
to the
in the
page
word
quickly.
Bravo.
I see.
and
This
it
is just,
says-
this is a matter of if you're
It's-
using Adobe to make a
Yeah,
real
make it,
PDF.
we need to make
or
the
if you're
document
just-
searchable, like we do for agendas and minutes and the things we do.
But I think it's how you create the document is my understanding. Like, because if you just save something as a stagnant PDF, you can't change anything. It's like the equivalent of a scan. But if you do it so that it's I don't remember the terms.
I think I
but
know how it's
guys
done
probably
because
know a
because
lot
we do it
more.
for
There's-
meeting minutes and
Yeah,
meeting
There's
that's
two
right.
different ways to do it.
There's a way to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
above my technology level, but maybe
I
again,
believe
someone
we could
on
do it for the
staff
next
is
one. I
able.
think when you do that, you have to do that before you put all the links in.
Yes, no, that'd be your first.
So, but I think we can try and do that for the fall one.
that'd be great. Thanks.
Oh, I like that though.
I've done it wrong, that's why I know.
But you were able to eventually
I did
get
it. Yeah,
to
I
it.
got it. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on staff updates? All right. Commissioner committee reports and comments.
Comment, and I don't have it here, but I will make sure on the meeting on the 12th in the packet is all of the information going to council from the Libby Bowl Committee. And if I had it, I would have handed it out tonight, but it should be
Oh, right,
available
on the-
tomorrow sometime midday digitally or electronically. So I'm hoping we can get it to all of the different, all of our commission members.
Oh,
Mhm.
great, thanks. That would be nice.
Any spoilers you want to?
No, I did bring this. This is just a little brief one page for the two of you who are here, that talks, this is gonna be in there, it's just one of the members put it together, just to kind of recap some of the things that have happened, but there'll be a lot more information in the packet, so, about what's happened this last year, there'll be a lot in there, so I want everybody to get it and read it, and then if, they're interested, it should be on the 12th. Though I hear the 12th is packed, the agenda, so I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But
Thanks.
the information will be available tomorrow when it comes out digitally, the agenda will be out, so I'll make sure that, would you mind, I can do it, I'll just get a link and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want me to
If you
print
want
it
to.
and scan.
You won't need to.
Scan an email, or.
It'll
just
already
email
be a
or
link,
forward it
just a link
everyone.
to
Just forward
the
it to
agenda
everyone.
item would be great, so that they'll get just, so it's not the whole entire agenda, but that specific, the materials for that item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Exciting, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else? All right, City Council Liaison Report. Councilmember Blatz, thank you for standing by this whole time.
Well, it's not though I'm standing by. I want to hear what you guys are going to talk about.
Right.
You know. Thank you again for all your efforts. I can tell you that the council is waiting for the naming rights to come back. We are waiting for that, and we're waiting for the Libby Bowl seating grassy area to come back with a recommendation. Those are two things that we've talked about in terms of our capital improvement fund and whether we were going to do something there. And I tend to agree with Eric. Sometimes it seems like you can beat these things to death. When I ran for city council, and I know that it took however many years, soft please, for the skateboard park, but it really took the skateboard park not from its envision, but from when it really began to move forward. It still took several years. And I, in the campaign, used to say that it took longer for us to build the skateboard park, even after it was approved, than it took to build the new Yankee Stadium. And that in and of itself tells you something. I mean, here's a magnificent building that took less time than the skateboard park. So government moves very slowly, but sometimes you can beat it to death. And ultimately, on things like the placement of the courts or the recommendation on the seating area at Libby Bowl, the grass area, you guys are on the commission. Ultimately, it's your call. And sometimes, you want to get public input. Whether you need a lot of public input as to whether you're going to place a second court where the horseshoes are or whatever. I mean, you guys know a lot more about it than the public. And sometimes I think you can actually overkill the information you're getting when ultimately we're relying on you guys to make the decision. It's not totally the public that makes the decision. And we're looking forward to getting, that as well, because that's going to be a great addition. So hopefully it won't take too long. Other than that, I don't have anything other than just give you my thanks again for all your hard work. I swung by the open house and just stopped in briefly the other day, and it looked like there was a lot of activity going on, but I did see empty booths. Yeah. Which was too bad.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting the Libby Bowl Committee's report.
Yes.
That's supposed to come back on the 12th, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw it in the packet.
Oh, good. I haven't
So
seen my
I've
packet
confirmed
yet,
it.
so, yeah,
Because
good.
it's been quite a few times we
Yeah.
thought we were,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's coming.
There's so many things that have priorities right now. It's crazy.
Yes, thank you for
Really
all of
is.
the meetings you're attending, because I know you just had one. And
Yeah.
then you got
we
another
just
one
had
next week,
Tuesday.
7 days later.
Yeah, well, it's budget time,
Yeah.
so we have to take
Buckle
whatever
down
time it
and-
takes,
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed your meeting as always. You'll have somebody new next month because the quarter's going to roll over, so I'll miss you guys.
Yeah.
Thank
well,
you for
thanks
coming.
coming to our
Thanks
meetings.
for
Yeah.
showing up.
Thanks.
Any questions or comments for Councilmember Blatz? No? Okay.
No questions? All right, thanks.
Good night, thank you.
We got our orders. Thank you. Future meeting dates and agenda items. So, July 5th is when we're tentatively scheduled for next meeting. Is that going to be a scheduling issue?
Not for me.
Me down? I will be here.
Might have a headache that day.
I think I'm okay.
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 Wow,
so-
you guys are tough. the day after 4th of July.
Well, would staff be willing to send out something to everybody and see? Because there's
Yeah.
only 3 of us here, so.
Right now, yeah, so, but you're all agreeable, so we only need one more to say yes.
Right, but it might as
Quite
well poll
honestly.
everybody,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because if we know it's not gonna go, we should set up another date.
right. So if it's not gonna go then, do we have other options? I know,
yeah, I'd have to check the
Balancing.
council chamber
So busy.
schedule to see if there would be a makeup date available.
Okay.
like, So,
probably good to check in
Uh,
soon
yeah.
with the other commissioners so that we can
I will.
see if
I-
there's an option.
Well, and check the
I may
schedule right
even-
away.
I may even do it as soon as tomorrow. I'll
Perfect.
just send out an email
Great.
tomorrow saying, I'll send it to everyone. You guys can reply and as yes, but I'll see what the others say. But
Okay.
we'll tentatively, as it says, we'll tentatively put it for July 5th. And if it's no, we'll go to Plan B.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. And then agenda items, I think CIP fine tuning, I mentioned,
Mhm.
to get ready for our joint meeting. The workshop that we're talking about scheduling, we go over contents of the
Organize that.
workshop.
Workshop content, okay.
Anything else?
Well, we'll be discussing the sport court.
Joint meeting.
Joint meeting, would you like that on there too?
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll go over whatever content we have for the presentation. Anything else for that meeting?
That's good.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Nice.
Just under 2 hours.